In the movie Species, a secret government program aimed at creating the first alien-human hybrid goes horribly wrong. The lab experiment escapes and quickly grows into an extremely hot female humanoid. The scientist's worst fears come true as she turns out to be deadly, indestructible, and very horny. She's on a mission to mate and will do anything necessary to propagate her species. If you came across this seductively sinister monster, do you think you'd make it? Do you think you'd keep it in your pants long enough to avoid death by snoo-snoo? And if so, do you think you'd survive its retribution for refusing to further its species? You do? Well, you're wrong. I'm here to tell you why. From the scientists who discovered this alien threat to the dude who bumps into her at a bar, no one's gonna survive this baddie's sex drive. This alien's gonna take over the world one lucky dude at a time, and there's nothing you can do about it. In this video from Strange Thoughts, I'll cover the top 10 reasons you won't survive the alien hottie from the movie Species. However, before we get to all the reasons this femme fatale lead to your demise, hit the like and subscribe button. And do it now because most of you are gonna leave halfway through to do some research on a certain cast member. Our analysis starts at Dugway Proving Ground, a military base in the middle of nowhere, Utah. Inside the facility, an innocent-looking girl is seen waking up in a glass cell with electrodes attached to her forehead. From the looks of both her cell and the facility housing it, she's dangerous. As technicians clear out of the room and lights start to flash, it quickly becomes apparent something bad is about to happen. This is confirmed when two lab techs walk in with canisters of cyanide poison. Whatever experiment this young woman was a part of, it has clearly come to an end. With a nod of approval from the lead scientist, the techs flood her cell with toxic fumes. When the haze of gas obscures their view, the scientists turn to monitoring her vitals. As the seconds pass and her vitals stay in the green, the scientists begin to worry. Like all past attempts at ending this experiment, she isn't dying. The sound of broken glass shatters their concentration and brings their attention to the lab below. Like a trained gymnast, she dives out of her cell and onto the floor where technicians quickly die from the escaped toxic gas. Two unlocked doors later, and she's outside where the presence of guards is surprisingly lacking. Finding a convenient gap in the barbed wire fence, she leaps over the last barrier to her freedom, making it to a well-timed freight train. By the time the military gets birds in the air, she's long gone. The research team is left in awe. What went wrong? Why was their security so bad? Reason 1. Relative risk and scarce resources. Here's the thing. This isn't the only experiment they're running at Dugway Proving Ground. Anyone who knows anything about secret military bases knows Dugway Proving Ground is the real Area 51. The experiments going on in this place are downright creepy. Everything from reverse engineering Terminators to synthesizing the Rage virus takes place in the many sublevels below. With such a long list of dangerous experiments, security resources inevitably run scarce. This requires prioritization based on the relative risk between projects. In comparison to the nightmare science taking place in the other studies, Dr. Xavier's test subject was judged to be harmless. To those in charge of securing xenomorphs, a 14-year-old alien-human hybrid was the least of their concerns. Thus, she was placed on the top floor with barely any precautions. If you want to blame anyone for this, blame the bureaucracy in Washington. The Dugway base commander made his case for more resources, but was ignored by the politicians. Because they were too focused on their re-election campaign, an alien-human hybrid is now on the loose. You better hope she doesn't turn into a baby-making monster from hell. Reason number 2. They're keeping this quiet. The next morning they find a dead hobo she killed while on the train the night before. A member of the research team reckons she could be anywhere and recommends they put out an APB. Xavier, the lead scientist, scoffs at the idea.
And have the railroad and local police ask a million questions we can't answer.
Yes, they could use a cover story such as an Amber Alert, but even that would eventually lead to questions. Questions like how she punched a hole through a security guard's chest at the next train stop. Unfortunately, they need to handle this quietly. That means less resources to hunt her down, and the longer she has to rack up kills from unsuspecting bystanders like you. While his team is figuring out next steps, the escape girl, codenamed Syl, makes it onto an Amtrak train heading west. She breaks into a kitchen where she does some light shoplifting, gathering the food and train fare she needs to take the Desert Eagle all the way to LA. After eating herself into a coma, she passes out and has a very confusing dream about a demon train, which is symbolic of the alien-human hybrid's plight to escape their demon train masters. At least that's my interpretation. Someone on the FX team fought hard for that addition. Syl wakes up and continues carb loading. Her body's storing up calories for something, and I'm guessing it isn't tomorrow's 10K. As she goes to work on her 10th chocolate pudding, she notices something wrong with her hand. Panicked, she runs to the bathroom where things go 0 to 100 real fast. Bulges in her hands and face turn into tentacles working their way out of her skin. In a scene that really sets a tone for the goriness to follow, Syl's tentacles drag her up into the corner of the bathroom and coalesce into a cocoon. Her alien biology has triggered the next stage of her development. While it's anyone's guess what she'll look like when she emerges, my money is on a hot blonde. Back at the lab, Xavier has assembled an eclectic team of professionals to hunt down the girl. The group goes around introducing themselves, starting with Preston Lennox, a bounty hunter who specializes in alien capture, gray blazers, and not giving a shit.
Should I leave a message?
Yeah. Tell him he's about to copulate with a creature from outer space.
Next, we have Stephen Arden, an anthropologist from Harvard and an expert in cross-cultural behavior. His scientific peer is Dr. Laura Baker, the nation's leading molecular biologist and someone who probably should have been involved in this project from the beginning. Balancing out the hard science, we have Dan the empath, played by Forrest Whitaker, in his sleepy left eye. When he lacks an obstructed vision, he makes up for his ability to feel things deeply and state the obvious.
It's a girl.
Yes,
Together, this team makes up reason number 3 why you won't survive. They didn't call the professionals. At this point, it should be clear Syl's not from this world. Between her superhuman strength, tentacles, and the way she eats bananas, nothing about her seems human. While this isn't the worst team Xavier could have assembled, there were plenty of better options. The US military has a number of specialized units for such situations. These alien hunters have taken down a wide range of monsters much deadlier than a little girl. They have the training, experience, and most importantly, the weapons to put this ET in a body bag. But Xavier decided to reinvent the wheel and assemble his own team. He's gonna pay the price, and so are you. After the team introduces each other, Xavier walks into the room to let them know what they're dealing with. He explains that in 1974, a small group from SETI used the radio dishes at Arecibo Observatory to transmit a message deep in the outer space. This message contained information like our DNA, a map of our solar system, and the population of Earth. Essentially everything a predatory species would need to size us up and launch an attack. This brings us to reason number 4 why you wouldn't survive. The Arecibo message. This message, and others like it, have broadcasted our technological inferiority to the deepest reaches of our galaxy. The hope has always been that it reaches a kind species interested in forming galactic friendships. The reality is that it could lead to our demise by highlighting our weaknesses and vast resources to any aggressive life forms within an interstellar earshot. Now, before you space nerds start crying out about the odds of a species receiving this transmission due to the speed of light and the vast distance of space, let me say that the message itself is not the problem. It's the principle behind the message. Our species is way too eager to make contact. If we do someday find a way to transmit faster than light messages, you better believe scientists will broadcast a new series of transmissions. While the intent will be one of establishing relations, the result may end up being a hostile alien armada at our front door. If that happens, we'll learn the hard way that Apple computer viruses are not an effective weapon against those who have conquered interstellar travel. Fortunately for us, the Arecibo message didn't result in alien ships showing up at Earth's doorstep. Instead, we received 2 distinct communications. Dr. Xavier goes on to enlighten the group about the 2 messages they received.
The first message turned out to be a superior catalyst for methane.
It essentially contained instructions for creating a limitless source of clean energy. It not only advanced us 100 years into the future, but built our trust with these new alien friends. The second message contained instructions for how to splice their DNA with our own. While it didn't include a reason as to why we should do so, we didn't suspect any malintent as they'd already given us an endless fuel source. We went to work combining the DNAs. Out of the 100 ova injected with this new sequence, only 3 made it. 2 were stored in liquid nitrogen, and they allowed 1 to grow. Dr. Xavier tells of how the organism grew quickly from a few cells to a young teenage girl in mere months. Along with accelerated growth, they noticed increased strength, intelligence, and durability. Xavier rolls the tape, allowing Dan the empath to make some crucial observations.
So you kept her caged in there?
She didn't like being locked up like that. She's having horrible nightmares.
It's a good thing Dan's here, because I didn't pick up on any of that. Xavier concludes the meeting by telling them how she escaped and their need to neutralize her before she reproduces. If they don't take her out, her offspring could mate and the exponential growth of their species could threaten humanity. While the team is deciding on next steps, the Amtrak train carrying Syl's cocoon is approaching LA. One of the train conductors hears some strange noises coming from Syl's cabin and decides to investigate. When she makes it into the bathroom, she finds the pulsating cocoon. Instead of running, she lingers, bringing us to reason number 5. You wanted to touch it. Most of you are going to take one look at that thing and run. You've seen enough movies to know nothing good comes from investigating pulsating cocoon sacs or eggs. However, a few of you are going to want to touch it. Yeah, you know who you are. You were the ones who stuck your fingers in power sockets. You're going to want to get a closer look and see how it feels. Hell, you may even try to peek inside. You'll be aware of the dangers, but you won't be able to help yourself. Your curiosity will pull you closer and closer until, like the conductor, you receive your nomination for this year's Darwin Awards. After killing the conductor, a humanoid figure with an alien tail emerges from the cocoon and lands on the floor. Judging from the tentacles and the pulsating sac from which it emerged, this thing must be hideous. Even with the conductor's disguise, I doubt it will go unnoticed. Wait, that's what came out of the pulsating cocoon?
You had my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
This alien is hot. Supermodel hot. Natasha Hendrich hot. You better call off Agent J and reassign Agent L because Big Willie won't be able to keep his hands off this murderous mommy. Donning the conductor's uniform, Syl wanders out of the train station and into the city. She may not have much money, but she's hot, and in superficial LA, that's half the battle. Xavier's dream team arrives to investigate the scene of the crime. Walking to the train, they find the smelly carnage of the dead conductor and the rotting cocoon. Not sure what to make of it, they lean on Dan's empathic abilities for some guidance.
Something bad happened here.
Yeah, I picked up on that too. Do you know where she might have gone?
Oh no.
Cool. Thanks again, Dan. Realizing she took the conductor's credit cards, they now have a way to track the fully grown alien. While waiting for the credit card to give away her location, Dr. Baker has a good idea. They still know little about what they're dealing with. Up until now, they didn't even know it at a cocoon stage in its life cycle. Given what Xavier said earlier in the lab, they do have a pure strand of alien DNA. Dr. Baker goes on to explain how growing this DNA may allow them to see the potentiality of the threat they're dealing with and prepare for whatever Syl's become. You know, that's a good plan. Maybe we should have done that in the beginning before we invested millions of dollars in research and put the lives of humanity at stake. If you're like me, you may wonder why the top microbiologist in the country wasn't brought in at an earlier stage. Under her guidance, this whole situation may have been prevented. Reason 6. The private sector pays better. Laura finished her PhD program with offers from both Xavier and Big Pharma. While she knew Xavier was working on cutting-edge microbiology, the idea of moving to Dugway, Utah and working underground with a bunch of Bob Lazar types wasn't as appealing as working for AbbVie Pharmaceuticals in the beautiful suburbs of Chicago. Like many other top professionals, Laura went private for the lifestyle. As a result, projects like Xavier's attracted subpar scientists who failed to understand the dangers of such an organism. If they'd had the skills of someone like Laura, they would have grown the pure DNA, realized the danger of the species, and at the very least tripled security. Instead, they grew a hostile alien-human hybrid with an insatiable need to reproduce. The public sector's inability to attract top-tier talent is just another reason you wouldn't survive. Reason number 7. They're keeping this quiet. Part 2. In the United States, there are 4 levels of biosafety. These levels are based on the relative danger of the organisms being studied. Something like E. coli would fall into level 1, requiring few precautions. On the other end of the spectrum would be something like alien DNA. Its level 4 rating would necessitate the most secure precautions such as positive pressure suits, airlocks for decontamination, and guards with machine guns. While Laura's idea to grow the pure alien DNA would appear to necessitate a level 4 facility, this isn't an option. Outside of Xavier's destroyed lab, there are only 4 biosafety level 4 facilities in the United States, and all of them are heavily monitored. Given the lack of time and the top secret status of the project, Xavier's forced to make a trade-off between secrecy and safety. This ultimately leads the team to a Soviet-era lab where they attempt to grow the pure alien DNA. When Laura and Press enter the lab to fix a broken camera, the organism begins growing at an extremely fast rate. It grows from a single cell to a tentacle-wielding blob in mere seconds. With only a single door separating the hostile organism from the rest of the lab, Xavier refuses to let them go. Only after Dan and Dr. Arden overpower Xavier are the two able to leave the lab. Seconds later, and they would have been burnt to a crisp like the alien organism. They got lucky. This thing could have just as easily made it out of the contained room and into LA. Its pure DNA would have likely made it many times more deadly than Syl, creating a whole new set of reasons why you wouldn't survive. While the government has their rationale for keeping things secret, your safety's not one of them. They'll do whatever it takes to keep these shadow programs out of the daylight, even if it means sacrificing a few Americans like you. Reason number 8. You were her competition. That night, Sil finds a hotel where she watches some rather erotic programming, jumpstarting her desire to mate. Asking the hotel manager where she can find a man, he recommends the club next door. When Sil arrives at the club, she realizes that while good looking, she still has competition. As she's talking to a potential mate, another woman comes up and steals her man's attention.
I've got a party to go to and no one to take me.
That was a bad idea. This predator doesn't play by the standard mean girl tactics of sabotaging competition. In her species, indirect methods such as spreading rumors and shaming don't exist. Women fight to the death for their mate. While Tina may be at the top of her game when it comes to disparaging women in her own species, she's out of her league when it comes to her alien rivals. Following Tina into the bathroom, Sil goes full alpha female. Jamming her alien fist through the woman's abdomen, she ensures Tina will no longer reproduce and sets an example for any woman who may try to compete with her in the future. Ladies, be careful of the competition out there. Some women don't play by the rules. If you take their man, it may be the last thing you ever do. With the competition out of the way, Sil starts her libertine lifestyle. Her first potential mate is Robbie, a regular club id. Everything about Robbie screams alpha, from his sweet BMW to his house in the hills. However, it's his snap-on lights that really seal the deal.
Like it?
Yes.
To Sil, this human has all the appearances of a worthy mate. That is, until she touches his face. Sil, whose biology allows her to identify weaknesses in her potential mate by touch, notices something's wrong with Robbie. Her instincts tell her he has a health defect that could be passed on to her offspring. Sil's attraction quickly turns to disinterest, and she asks him to take her back to the club. This doesn't go over well with Robbie, who refuses to let her leave. When he forces a kiss, she appears to relent. Little does Robbie know, he's about to experience the oral equivalent of a chest burster. The kiss quickly turns deadly when a tentacle slides into his throat and then explodes out of his neck. Xavier's team arrive at the club where they follow carnage back to Robbie's house. As they're debating whether Sil rejected Robbie due to him being a diabetic, she watches through the fence. If she's to have any chance of making a baby, Sil needs to get rid of this team. Killing them's not an option, as more scientists will follow. She needs Xavier's team to think she's dead. Sil starts by kidnapping a young woman outside a nearby grocery store. This is to be her body double. She then goes to work laying out the rest of her plan. A short drive from the club is an electrical box. If she can get the team to think she drove into this and it somehow triggered her car to explode, she'll be free to mate as she pleases. That night, as the team is surveying the club, Sil gets their attention. A car chase ensues, ending with her driving off the road and rolling out of her car right before it connects to the utility box. The resulting explosion burns her body double to a crisp, leaving no doubt the smoldering remains in the car belong to Sil. Except for the fact that the remains are in the passenger seat. You know what? That's a little odd. Maybe we should wait for the lab to get back to us before we...
It's all over, everyone. Tomorrow you can go back to your lives.
But should we...
Congratulations on a job well done.
Okay then, I guess that's a wrap. The group goes back to the hotel bar for drinks. What should be a celebratory night out is shrouded in uncertainty. They can't shake the feeling she's still out there. However, even if she did fake her death, she'd be long gone by now. There'd be no reason for her to come back to the same exact hotel bar where she knows the team is staying. That is, unless she found a way to disguise herself. Reason number 9, hair dye. In a world of Mission Impossible masks and hair dye, no one is who they appear. With the help of some Tresemme and some brunette and a little scissor work, Sil's completely transformed herself from a hot alien blonde into a hot alien brunette. Only the most suspicious, attentive, and trained professionals would be able to see through this deception. Definitely not our team here. Walking past and engaging with both Laura and Press, she maintains her disguise long enough to sneak into Dr. Arden's room. While not the perfect mate, she knows he'll be easy. After striking out at the bar, Arden returns to his room where he becomes the third team member unable to decipher Sil's disguise. While I can't forgive the others, I will cut Arden some slack. At this point, the little brain downstairs is taking control, and any suspicion about her resemblance to Sil has been thrown aside. He's getting laid tonight, and that's all that matters, even if it does jeopardize all of humanity. While they're preparing to get it on, Dan the Empath starts having premonitions of them mating. This, along with the squeaky bed next door, makes him run to get Press and Laura. When they break in, they find a dead Dr. Arden, and reason number 10 why he won't survive. He didn't use protection. While one-night stands are fun, they come with risks. Risks like STDs and fertile alien babes. if you're going to engage in one of these casual encounters, you need to take precautions. Not only for your safety, but for the safety of all mankind. Arden serves as a cautionary tale for what happens when you drop your guard. The doctor, like many men before him, got caught up in the moment and didn't use protection. After 30 seconds of pure bliss, he came to his senses. I can only imagine the post-nut trauma experience as he saw tentacles emerge from Syl's back to finish off the mating ritual. At that point, he knew then and there that he'd sealed not only his fate, but the fate of humanity. The group chases a now pregnant Syl into the sewer below the hotel. After some splitting up and dying, the group hears what sounds like an alien mother giving birth to an infant. Following the sounds, they eventually make it into a cavern opened up by a recent earthquake. It's decided Laura will watch the entrance while Dan and Press circumvent the cavern to flush out the alien, a classic strategy that has never ever worked. As Dan works his way along the right side of the cavern, he comes across her baby boy, alone and unprotected. She may want to spend a little less time on mating and a little more time on parenting if she really wants her species to survive. While the baby's cute in its human form, it quickly grows into its alien equivalent, forcing Dan to torch it. While everyone else is sticking to the plan, Dr. Baker leaves her post at the crucial entrance to the cavern. Damn it, Laura. I know you're a scientist, but this is Flush and Flame 101. We flush them, you flame them. If you're not there to flame them, the whole plan crumbles. Have you never seen a sci-fi movie? And now you fell in the oil pit. Someone please get her back to the lab. She's horrible in the field. Dan's kill, while a win for humanity, did come at a cost as both he and Laura are now at risk of dying from the spreading flames in the oil pit below. Preston runs to help but is attacked by Syl. Her tentacles emerge from all types of strange places, tying up the bounty hunter whose weapon was knocked aside. Only after cutting himself free is he able to reach her his handgun and empty a mag into Syl, sending her into the fiery oil pit below. As he rushes to aid Dan, Syl, who's just chilling in the fiery oil pit, jumps out and grabs onto the empath's leg. In a scene that pretty much copies the Terminator 2 finale, he fires a grenade into Syl, causing her to once again fall into the fire pit below. After some T-1000 facial expressions, she eventually succumbs to the intense heat. Finally, it's over. Unless the sentient tentacle the alien rat had impregnated or one of the two other Ober developed into another killer alien. And that's where analysis comes to an end. If you still think you made it, you're either delusional or xenomorph queen ready to put this rival in her place. Now that's the sequel we need. I hope you liked my glass half empty analysis of why you wouldn't survive the movie Species. If you'd like to expand your survival chances in other horror movie scenarios, consider subscribing as helps me make more videos. Thanks for watching. Remember to live life to the fullest. If an alien this hot ever does get loose, there will be no shortage of guys who will end our species for a chance at that hot alien ass.